Hello, everyone, and welcome to Clean Water Conversations, the podcast where we have casual discussions about creating clean and clear waterways right here in Lancaster County. I'm Ken.
Hey, everybody, it's Allison.
Allison, we are fast approaching Thanksgiving.
It's been a fast season.
It has.
What a beautiful one, though.
And a busy one.
That's true.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for colors and cool temperatures and...
Love it.
Yep.
Love it. So I have a question. Do you or your family have any Thanksgiving traditions?
Well, growing up in a family that had a business that was open on Thanksgiving, we've had traditions of having a late dinner or doing it in some other format. But I also remember going out to Pittsburgh to see my dad's side and Thanksgiving traditions there of, yes, full turkey dinner. And still today, people talk about my grandmother passing the bowl of mashed potatoes, saying, everyone take your scoop and then give the bowl to Allison. How about you, Ken? What do you guys do for Thanksgiving?
I invariably watch the parade.
Okay.
Used to watch it with my kids, who would usually get bored about an hour in. And then I would finish watching it. And depending on which house we were going to for Thanksgiving, either my wife's family or my family, we would get ourselves ready and go enjoy Thanksgiving. Okay. So, yeah.
Sounds good.
Pretty low key, pretty laid back, you know.
Well, like you said, it's been a busy season building up to this. So we have quite the list of awesomeness that has so many things for us to be thankful for this year. And I am trying to keep this relatively short, but I'm really excited to announce that the Watershed Leadership Academy is kicking off, and our newest group of scholars has been selected. And we'll have our official kickoff here in December with the session starting in January. So a group of 16 that we're really excited about.
And if you want to know a little bit more about what that is about, check out episode 12 of this very podcast. We also announced at the Full Partners meeting recently that we have the Network Participant Experience Form. Whether you're a partner or not, we're trying to track how everybody is interrelated within organizations. That's a lot. That's a lot to track. So we are asking individual organizations to go in and start with the Network Participation Experience Form.
Yeah, it's a way for us to do some storytelling about the awesomeness, like the network itself, but then individual partners and what are you doing within it? What are you looking for within that? How can we be a better network to tell your story, to tell the impact of all of everybody working together? So yeah, part of our list of awesomeness is growing that storytelling.
And you have participated in a couple more presentations.
Just a few lately.
It's been crazy for you. Last week, you and Alex actually presented at the LCATS, which is
Lancaster County Association of Township Supervisors.
Excellent, and that I assume went well.
It did. We were really appreciative of the chance to be on the agenda as a presenter, have a table, have some individual conversations over buttered noodles at Yoder's. So it's a great place to have more time with some of our municipal partners, some of our engineering firm partners, understand what are their priorities. And this was 2 days after the national election. So there was lots of news and emotions and things to talk about. So a great place to be.
And the week before that, you presented at Hourglass Lancaster.
That's right. It's a monthly forum, and we were invited to be the November first Friday guest. So we got to talk about the network and bring along 2 partner organizations. So thank you to Terry from Carnarvon Township and to Mike from the Interfaith Partners for the Chesapeake for telling their stories as partner organizations, putting some reality and boots on the ground voices to this work. So.
And the video of that is available on social media. You can check it out on our social media. We have a link to it over there. So good stuff.
Yeah, just a few of our list of awesomeness. We could do a lot more, but we want to get to our guest today. So excited to introduce who we have from the Lancaster County Community Foundation.
And they are Dave Koser, who is the Director of Programs, and Kim Shorter, who is the Chief Operating Officer.
And Ken, you had such a blast with this.
This was a lot of fun. Let's hit it. We like to start things out with an icebreaker. So your icebreaker question is, have you ever met your idol or someone you revere greatly? And if you haven't, who would you like to meet and why?
I feel like mine might be a little underwhelming, but when I was a kid, I used to watch Captain Chesapeake a lot. It was a big Baltimore thing when I was a kid growing up. He was a shipwrecked sailor, and he had this little sidekick, Mondi the sea monster.
Oh, wow.
It was really great. And it was like a Muppet, Mondi. So I had to meet them in Timonium one time. It was some exciting stuff. I was super thrilled with it as a kid and was so excited. And I recited the shipwrecked sailor poem to him, which I don't know if he really appreciated that, but that was, so it was fun and it was memorable. So
very cool.
That's great.
Awesome.
How about you, Dave?
Actually, recently, a few months ago, I met Coach K, the Duke basketball coach.
Yeah.
He is in town. The chamber had their chamber dinner. He was the keynote speaker. We, as a foundation, we received an award, the Exemplar Award. And because of that, we had a chance to get in line and have a photo op with Coach K. And I was always a big Duke fan growing up. And, I was just so excited to have this chance to meet him. And he was awesome. He gave a great speech. And then meeting him in person, just down to earth, he just seemed like a really cool guy.
He's a good guy.
So the funny thing though was that our CEO, Sam Bressi, was there. So we're getting a group shot, and Sam had prepared, what would I say to Coach K? And he was thinking about this for the longest time. And he came up with this really good question. So there we are, I'm right there. Coach K's right there. Sam's right there. We're looking at each other. And Sam's like, Coach K, you have coached LeBron James. You've coached some of the best Duke basketball players. You've won national championships. You've won Olympic gold medals. So surely, like everybody else, you have some insecurities. And, so how do you convert your insecurities into being a champion? And Coach K just kind of looked and was like, yeah, I don't have insecurities. Sorry, I can't.
100% confidence.
I can't help you out with that. So we always have a good laugh about that. But it was a great honor to get to meet Coach K.
And mind you, I met Coach K too, yet I still chose 1970s TV personality, Captain Chesapeake.
I love it.
That's how I
love it.
Go team. Mm-hmm.
If you looked at the artwork for this episode, you may notice that Dave and I have a slight resemblance to each other. I just want to clarify.
We do.
We're not related. I'm actually Dave's stunt double. So, yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up?
Yeah, I can start.
Yeah.
Okay. I grew up in Lancaster County. Eastern Lancaster County specifically. Went to Pequay Valley. So I know the area very well. Spent pretty much my whole life here. Did a little bit of traveling after high school. Ended up going to college at University of Pittsburgh. And then when that was over, back to Lancaster.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What brought you to the Community Foundation?
Yeah, good question. I honestly didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. Had no idea. I did not grow up thinking, I'm going to work at a community foundation. I don't think anybody ever said that. I don't think that's a thing that people aspire to, just because people don't know what community foundations are by and large. But so I majored in history and political science, thought for a second maybe that I would want to teach history. Actually took my classes and got certified to teach. And then ultimately I did student teaching, and I said to myself, this is not for me. I do not see myself doing this for 30 years. God bless all the teachers out there who do this work, because it is challenging and the demands are just nonstop. So I did some construction work a little bit after that, just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Ended up getting hit in the face with a sledgehammer. Ended up shooting a nail through my finger,
oh my gosh.
And then the final straw was we were finishing up a job. It was like December. It was a cold rain. I was freezing. I was shivering, and I was supposed to put scaffolding away, like metal, So I'm grabbing onto the metal, and it was like just grabbing onto ice.
Oh,
my hands felt like they were going to fall off, but the scaffolding had to come down that day.
Right.
Got the job done, and I was so cold, just shivering, and I said to myself, I went to college and I think I should not do this. Again, God bless all the construction workers out there. It is not for the faint of heart. So I started looking for a job. My sister knew somebody who was working at the Community Foundation at the time. I said, I never heard of the Community Foundation, but I looked at the job description and I said, I think I can do that. And I think it will keep me warm this winter. That was my mindset going into it, and somehow it turned into a career. I've been there almost 17 years now, and it's just been absolutely fantastic. The team that we have working with people like Kim, I've worked with her almost 17 years, 16 plus, and it's just been an awesome journey. Just a great team, people who are passionate, who really care about the community deeply. We're kind of generalists in a sense that, we have to have a little bit of expertise in a lot of things.
Right.
And that suits me well. I'm a jack of all trades. I like to do anything, involve myself in any kind of project. So it's just been an incredible place to work for a while.
And no sledgehammers.
No sledgehammers.
Good.
I had a black eye in my interview for the Community Foundation because I had just been hit in the face with a sledgehammer by my boss. He, obviously unintentional. Well, I think it was unintentional. That was quite a day. Yeah.
And now, depending on the weather that year, maybe the ExtraGive could be your whole day of carrying frames. But
exactly.
Not quite the same.
Yeah, although this year might be 68 degrees. Who knows?
Gosh. Yeah.
So what about you, Kim? Where did you grow up? We'll start with that.
Oh my gosh. So I grew up, if you didn't guess, from my icebreaker, northern Baltimore County and went in Maryland. And so when I say really northern, I mean we were 2 miles from the Pennsylvania line.
Okay.
So grew up there, really rural area, farming community. I went to school at Hereford High, which we have a barn there. If anybody knows that school, I had lots of friends, dairy farmers, hog farmers, that sort of thing. So really reminds you of rural Lancaster County. Let's see, I went to school at York College and I got a graduate degree at University of Delaware. Traveled a little bit, went to Arizona after school, ended up back in the DC area. Like Dave, I wasn't planning on a career in the Community Foundation, but earlier in my career, I had worked at a nonprofit organization. We like to call them community benefit organizations. So if you hear us say CBOs or community benefit organizations, that's what we're talking about.
Nice. Missed the acronym there too.
She's on it.
She nailed it.
I don't like to be zinged. I try to get it right, But I was in the DC area in the tech industry as well. And as life happens sometimes, my husband had a brain aneurysm when he was really young, late 20s, was in the hospital for a year, in the hospital and in rehab. So that kind of changed the trajectory of my life, really. I had to rethink what I was doing. The traveling situation didn't work for me. So came back here to the area where we had family, friends, wound up settling here and working in the nonprofit sector again. Came to the Community Foundation, like Dave said, about 16 years ago, maybe 6 or 9 months after he did, and was doing some asset development work. So working with our nonprofit organizations and working on helping them to gather endowment funds into the foundation. And I've been here ever since. I love the mission. I love what we do. I love how diverse it is and how many people we get to interact with and lives we get to touch through the foundation. So I'm the COO now. I do lots with operations, HR, IT, development work.
Should I buzz that?
Oh, yeah.
I gotta do it. I'm sorry.
And I was just bragging. I was just bragging. I'm the Chief Operations Officer. I do some technology work, human resources, as well as work with our group who works with donors. So that's really fulfilling to talk to people about what's impactful and what they care about.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Kim is absolutely the glue
that
holds everything together. I mean, she just has her hands in everything. Any good work that we do has her fingerprints on it.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I was waiting when you said has her hands in everything. I was waiting for some sarcasm, but
no.
I felt that. Thank you. I felt the love. Thanks.
No sarcasm.
How big is the team at the Community Foundation?
15.
Okay.
Yeah. Yesterday we added our 15th member.
Okay.
Rachel Hartman is our newest program officer. So we're super excited to have her on board. She comes to us from the Center Foundation and State College.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of your comment about how nobody is of little kids saying, I want to work at a community foundation. So I'm thinking, how do you recruit? How do you grow a team to be the operations that you want it to be, and all of the individual parts that come together for the bigger whole?
Right. Well, part of that actually kind of ties into why we launched ExtraGive in 2012. We had been around at that point for 80 plus years, 85 years. And the community knew very little about us. They knew us as a grant, giver, providing grants and this and that, but not a whole lot about the community foundation. So when we first launched ExtraGive, it was all about, the community needs to understand more about community foundations, what they do.
Yeah.
And it was really what we called our handshake to the community, introducing the community to the foundation, talking about philanthropy when no one was really doing that, as a whole, and the good that can do in a community. So. Yeah, so that goes into part of that recruiting. And as time's gone on, 12 years, 13 years on, it's definitely raised awareness about what we do. And folks generally, look to us for philanthropic leadership. So it's been really great to think about philanthropy in different ways and like you said, attracting people. It's really helped us to do that. So,
that's great. I'm glad I did that segue, but tell me more. Tell me about the ExtraGive. What is this?
So the ExtraGive is 1 day of online giving. So for 24 hours, we work with virtually every nonprofit that you can think of, from animal organizations, health, art, well-being, adult living. So we have about 450 organizations that sign up for this. And we have a stretch pool. So as you gather donations for your organization, we'll put a portion of the stretch pool to those donations. So it's really a fun day. We invite, whole community participation, and it's really a good way to talk about philanthropy.
Wow. So it's a day of online giving, but you guys have really turned it into much more than online giving. And I think of events, I think of concerts, I think of branding. I think you have grown the ExtraGive into this amazing tool.
But let's take a step back. Just 16 years you guys have been working together.
Yeah.
This is the 13th year of the ExtraGive. Mm-hmm. So I assume you guys were there at the foundation of all
Fair
this.
enough. Yes.
Yeah.
How did it get started?
Yeah, let me just brag on Kim for a second here. Because she won't do it herself.
I think I'm going to owe him dinner after this. I feel like that's coming.
But she's really the one who came up with the idea. We were... As she said, we were an organization that not many people knew about. We were really trying to think, how do we put ourselves on the map in this community? We can't really, have a lot of impact unless people know who we are, right? So that ideas are being floated around. Kim brought this idea to leadership and said, "Hey, I heard about Pittsburgh Gives and some other communities are doing these giving days. Is this something like I've been doing some research into it? I really think this could be something really great for Lancaster." Yeah. And there's some conversation and the more people kind of got their brains wrapped around the idea, the more they liked it. Yeah. And, our CEO, Sam Bressi, was on board and said, let's give it a shot. I wasn't actually part of the initial conversations myself so much. I remember the vice president of programs at the time, Melody Kime, I had a meeting with her and she said, "Hey, we're thinking about doing this day where, people can give to different nonprofits." And I thought, oh, that's interesting. So there'd be we maybe invite maybe 5 nonprofits and we'd raise, maybe $10,000 or something. My thinking on this was so small. And I just remember her saying, "Oh, no, it'd be open to any nonprofit." And I'm thinking to myself, how in the heck are we going to manage something like that? But
daunting. Yeah.
Yeah. But we pulled it off. We worked with, we found a vendor who provides technology. We worked with that. We figured out how to make that work. When we announced it, I remember we were at Steinman Park where we are now. And we did this thing where we kind of unveiled these signs for ExtraGive and announced it with fanfare. And people were just like, "What the heck is this? What are you doing? How's this going to work?" And we committed, I think it was $250,000 to the stretch pool that year. And there was conversation on our board, what if what happens if we don't raise $250,000? You know, what if we only raise $100,000? Are we going to do like a double match? Or are we going to, you know, how are we going to make the match dollars work? And, you know, the first year we raised, I think it was 1.6 million.
Yeah, 1.68.
Yeah. And it just blew everybody's minds that we could raise that much money. And then from there, it just took off like crazy, like wildfire for the next 5, 6, 7 years. It just kept growing and growing. So yeah, it's Kim right here. Yeah, she's this is the origin of ExtraGive.
Well, thank you. Wow. Yeah, as Dave said, though, other community foundations were doing this in the state. So we kind of tapped into something, you know, really in its early stages and saw the opportunities there. But I will say, Dave, that first year, I was thinking as you asked that, I remember walking down Prince Street with Dave on 48 hours of no sleep, both of us. We could barely find our way back to the office. We just do not. It was pretty bad. Boy. So we've learned since then. We get our sleep. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So we've been pretty good.
Tim and I have always been in charge of awarding prizes for ExtraGive. So we have the various hours, you know, we'll pull 5 random organizations to get an extra $500, you know, that sort of thing.
Right.
So that first year, it started out great. It's easy enough to do. It's an easy process. And then you pull the random winners, and then you notify the winners. And there's kind of a little bit of a process to it, but you know, it's the sort of thing that only takes 15, 20 minutes to do every time we do it. And everything started off swimmingly at first. You know, the first few hours, even at midnight, we're just like, oh, this is great. You know, crank out these prizes, sending emails out, you know, doing everything, checking everything off the list. High energy, adrenaline flowing.
Waiting for the butt.
And then the 11 o'clock hour.
11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, we're pulling these prizes, and we could not even put a thought together as
to get an email out.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
We're we're sending it to the wrong email addresses. And
we're like, you know what? They'll just see it online. We can't.
We can't possibly be expected to do anything now.
We were just so sleep deprived. It was punchy. It was bad. Yeah.
We knew we needed help, and the next time around, we pulled in volunteers to help us, and we didn't have to do the 24-hour stretch.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
So we build in breaks and sleeping and just go take a nap somewhere. It's fine. You know, we have people that can help out. So we figured out how to fix that problem at least.
It always seems like there's that first year, why are we doing this to ourselves? sort of thing. Yeah. It's that learning curve. Yeah. It has evolved. The question I have is, how has the goal of the event changed over the last 12 years, or has it?
Right. Yeah, I would say it definitely has. Like I mentioned, you know, when we first started this, it was like, hey, you know, we need a way to reintroduce ourselves to the community, to think about philanthropy in a different way, also while bolstering our nonprofit community, you know, giving them a hand and a leg up and being able to support in that way. And I would think in the beginning, I would say it was more about like raising those dollars, right? And getting awareness out about your organization and finding out about the foundation. It really has shifted over the last years, because what we've come to learn is that ExtraGive is a great place to gain new donors. So you have people browsing around in housing or addiction recovery, that they're automatically going to see other organizations involved in the same thing, read about their mission, read about their programs, and say, hey, you know, I want to support that too. So over the years, initially the stretch pool was based on dollars raised, and now it's based on number of unique donors you can gather as an organization. So really, as anybody who does development work in a nonprofit, they'll tell you the new donor is the hardest to get. Once you get them, you can always, you know, do that donor stewardship and work with them and talk to them. But the new donors are difficult to get, and ExtraGive really helps them to do that. And we wanted to focus some energy on that so that folks can shore up some revenue streams for their missions.
Yeah.
So you've described how other cities or other places around Pennsylvania, you were kind of learning from them. Over the course of the life of ExtraGive, why do you think Lancaster is especially and uniquely positioned to be successful within this work?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And, we noticed early on that we were doing exceptionally well as a community.
Yeah.
And, we like to think that, our work, the effort that we put into marketing and the events and everything really sets the stage. But ultimately it's nothing without the nonprofits, the community benefit organizations. I didn't say CBOs. I was going to say CBOs.
Yeah.
So I don't get buzzed. The community benefit organizations in the community who really take it to heart, who really latch onto it, who really plan their own events and their own marketing schemes. And, it just becomes just such an amazing thing because of all the synergy, right? Like we do a lot of work to set it up, but then yes, it's the community that takes it and makes it so special. So we were seeing early on, we were tracking with Miami.
Yeah.
In terms of actual dollars raised, Miami was having Miami, Florida, not Miami, Ohio.
And for several years, we're the highest per capita giving day in the country.
Exactly.
In the country?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And we're still up there. I haven't seen the stats lately, but we're doing very well.
That's huge.
With our giving day, which is really cool. And it's like, why, that's the question. Why is that? And, we think a lot of it goes back to Lancaster County's roots, going back to William Penn and the Quakers and wanting to treat everybody fairly. And then, you look at the Anabaptists and, the Mennonite roots and that we have here in Lancaster County. People are very generous. I think people are used to, giving a lot to their places of worship. And I think that really kind of translates into, what else can we give to? So yeah, Lancaster, it's a very, very hospitable and welcoming community. And yeah, we really think that the generosity does extend into the nonprofit space, and ExtraGive is just a really great indicator of, where our community is, with giving. And then a few years ago, we made a change. We initially had a $25 minimum contribution to ExtraGive. And then we realized, hey, that might be a barrier for some folks who really want to give. Really care about certain organizations, or at least show that they care. And we said, can we go down to $10? And we knew that it was going to make the customer service piece of it a lot more difficult. But we decided, hey, it's really worthwhile to make sure that as many people can see themselves as philanthropists in the community.
Yeah.
So we reduced it down to $10, and we really saw that a whole lot more people got involved with giving. And, we have between, I think Kim might have the numbers, but I think 20 to 25,000 donors every year.
About 30,000 unique donors across all organizations.
Wow.
And then if you look at that across the 13 years, certainly more than that. We've not run like a longitudinal, 14-year thing here, but just really has drawn so many unique donors. And one of the things that I think, Dave, you didn't mention, you mentioned about like Lancaster's generous past and how we're well suited for this. But we've also been very modest about our giving, right? You don't want somebody to know, oh my gosh, they have money, they're giving. We've also, we've made it okay to say, hey, I'm giving to this organization. Will you help me support it? Sure. I love this mission. I love this organization. So we've made it more of a collaborative community event around philanthropy, and we've made it okay to say, hey, I'm philanthropic, and these are my causes that I love, and I'm willing to talk about that. So
be loud and proud.
Yep.
Yeah.
Speaking of loud and proud, cool. I'd be remiss to not mention our sponsors. With this question of why are we successful?
We've
had so many
amazing.
Great sponsors who've sponsored prizes and things like that, chipping in $10,000 in a lot of cases. But we also, I wanted to mention the presenting sponsors, High Foundation and Murray Foundation, just both, just awesome. I'll let the cheering continue.
There you go.
We are so grateful to have them on board to help us out. And then also the Steinman Foundation is sponsoring again this year the Pursuit of Equity Prize, which provides some extra dollars to organizations that are really trying to chip away at equity in the community. So, organizations supporting BIPOC populations. Sorry.
Bring him on that.
Black, Indigenous people of color, LGBTQ, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual, queer, questioning, plus. Maybe missed some letters there, but my apologies if I did. Also people with disabilities. So really trying to give a boost to these organizations that are really taking that work seriously.
Yeah.
That work is really important to the Community Foundation. It's obviously really important to Steinman Foundation. And we're just really proud to support those organizations.
Wow. Thank you for all that you do. It is making such a difference and makes an impact on those individual organizations, those individual people. And like you said, that messaging, the shift in the messaging to the people participating in the ExtraGive to feel comfortable, to feel like they can access it and they have an important role. I had never thought of it that way, of that handshake to the community. I love that image in my head.
Yeah.
Are most of the donors from Lancaster?
A majority,
yeah.
But we actually get donations from all over the world.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like people who are from Lancaster but moved to somewhere else.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I used to map it out. Like,
Really?
Yeah. Okay.
Because we could put in the address and then do like a Google Earth or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you'd see the little pins where everybody donated. And it's like really clustered in Lancaster County. And
but
then
you'll see, regionally,
you'll see it,
there's a huge draw regionally because you've got a lot of organizations with footprints like, Harrisburg, York, Lancaster, Berks. It's pretty amazing. Yeah. And then it goes down the eastern, Delaware, Virginia, Northern Virginia, that really concentrated East Coast, but then people who retire in Arizona or Florida and they have Lancaster ties.
And international too. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It depends. And you think about social media, right? So you have your friend network, people in Amsterdam or Africa or wherever, and you're sending out, it diminishes those borders in a lot of ways, the online giving.
Yeah.
So,
It's the megaphone, Ken.
It is. I was thinking the same thing.
So what this means logistically for our finance team is that we need to, you might be aware, there's the Pennsylvania Bureau of Charitable Organizations. And there's also these similar types of organizations in every state. So any state that we're collecting money from, we have to register with these organizations. Oh. So part of our finance team's responsibility with ExtraGive is that they need to register us in all these organizations, and it just takes hours and hours of time, and it's crazy. So that's just like one little detail that nobody thinks about when they think about ExtraGive. But just wanted to give a little shout out to our finance team who does all the work to make sure that all of those details are executed flawlessly.
To your finance team, and a shout out reminder to our partner organizations that may be based in the Chesapeake somewhere and are participating in this. Work with the finance team. So one of the things that we get to share with you all at the Community Foundation is the Clean Water Fund. And that is one of many opportunities for the public to support local conservation efforts. So with the ExtraGive kind of in mind, how have you seen Lancaster County embracing conservation efforts? That is a fund that you guys provide. I'm curious how that has touched ExtraGive, but the Community Foundation in general.
It's interesting. I was doing a little bit of digging, and noticed that in general, nationwide, that about 2 to 3% of philanthropic dollars are given to environmental organizations. And that was just kind of eye-opening when I saw that. And, I know I didn't have the time to actually look it up as far as, what our donations go to and what our grants go to, but I can assure you it's higher than that. Obviously, we have a great partnership with Clean Water Partners, where we're able to, work with you to, provide grants. But we also have a Lancaster Environmental Fund. So every year we've been making grants to various organizations. One example might be the Lancaster Conservancy, and we've supported some of their acquisitions that they've made over time with the Money Rocks. I can't remember I think it's the Eastern Lancaster County Nature Preserve next to Money Rocks County Park. Yep. And then some other things like Climbers Run, supporting the work that they've done there. So that's a grant that we've been able to make that's about $30,000 a year, which admittedly in the grand scheme of things isn't a lot, but every bit helps. And definitely there's been a lot of projects that have been supported through this fund. And then, through ExtraGive, some of the organizations that pull in the most cash from the actual ExtraGive event have been environmental organizations, and they've used that platform to really solidify the donations they're pooling in. We just spent some time with their former CEO, Phil Wenger, out at Climbers Run, and he was telling us a little bit about their development strategy. And it was just really, really cool to hear the way he talks about, how they think about preservation alongside of restoration, and also with education. Those kind of being the three components of where they put their dollars to work, and how it's just thinking about how that's so important. You need all of that. You need first to preserve land. In their case, their land, they're a land trust. You need to preserve the land. You need to restore it. You need to educate people so that people can continue to care and continue to give and volunteer. And, they do so much with invasive plants, and that's not easy. It's not easy work, right? I mean, it's not something you don't just like spray a little solution and that takes care of it. You got to go out there. He was describing the process of, clipping the plants and making sure you get the right dose of chemical, it's as little chemical as possible so not to disrupt the environment. But it's something that's very time intensive and just involves so many people. But back to your original question, we've definitely seen an interest in the environment. We've made lots of grants to support it. This year was our 100th year, and through our Shaping Tomorrow grants that we made, we actually carved off more than $250,000 to support environmental projects in Lancaster County. So
that's amazing.
So we're funding things like EDC and how they're doing a feasibility.
Sorry.
There it is. I was doing so well.
Waiting for the economic. I was going to hear it for months if I was the only one who got that.
I let CEO go by twice. So I was like, oh, no, I have to hit this now.
EDC Economic Development Company of Lancaster County, and they are doing work with a feasibility study and business plan for the outdoor economy and how that can be enhanced in Lancaster. We have all these great natural resources. We have, just really great trails, but like a lot of people don't have access to them, or a lot of people don't even know they exist. So it's like, how do you market that? How do you build an economy around that? Because they know that there's already a lot of economic activity related to outdoor recreation, but how do we really put that on the map in Lancaster County? So that's what they're looking at. So that's one example of something that we funded. But Climbers Run, we're helping to support the Conservancy with making that an ADA accessible area. And also,
Americans with Disabilities Act.
Americans with Disabilities Act. I feel like my world is just living in acronyms.
So's ours. I totally get it.
Thank you. But they're enhancing Climbers Run to make it more accessible for folks. Just so many examples of things we've been able to do through Shaping Tomorrow. And we know that, there are so many people who are interested. We just had an event out at the farm at Eagles Ridge where we announced all of the environmental grants that we made. And so many people, we had a couple hundred people show up, more than any other of our events.
Really?
Yeah, people were just really, really, really interested in, hey, what's happening? What's the community foundation doing to support the environment? And it was just a really fun night of just people just really celebrating what Lancaster County has and what we can continue to do to make the environment better here.
Oh, that's amazing. And so important to party and celebrate because there is such progress. We have to acknowledge and celebrate those wins and those partners that are doing that work on the ground. That I'm glad to hear that you're seeing a growth in that. I think we are too. And a lot of that has been about local progress. There are deadlines ahead of us, but celebrating all throughout 2024 and then building into things like 2025, 2040, and these other kind of milestones that we have for ourselves. But such wins.
Yeah. And, I don't want to sugarcoat it. We know that the problems are big.
Sure.
We know that a lot of money is required, way more than what we can provide. So really it's about, eating that elephant one bite at a time, acting locally, finding the things, I think that Conservancy example is a really good one. Let's get people onto the trails. Let's get them enjoying the nature. Let's give access and make sure that everybody at least can get out there and enjoy this. And then we have a chance maybe of them becoming donors in the long term. And it's getting people on board. Hey, like, oh yeah, let's learn about the fact that the bird population is dwindling. Let's learn about the fact that insects are going away, that fireflies are going away, lightning bugs. I'm from Lancaster County. I know there's a debate about that, but yet let's talk about this stuff, right? And then we have a chance of bringing more people in, caring, and ultimately donating so that we can eventually, have the money to really make a big impact.
Well, and you guys have been the home then for that way for people to take action. The Clean Water Fund is the dollars to be able to give more people access to action project possibilities, basically. So thank you for being that and allowing us to work with the Lancaster Conservancy as the kickoff team and many others that were part of a small group there to learn about the system that you have. So Kim, your operations that you've set up and made that possible for us to start the Clean Water Fund. And then the kinds of awardees or the grants that were given out this year, they're just an amazing collection of the River Connection stories or Let's Go 123. There's some really, really great examples of the action related to exactly what you're saying of let's learn about it. I was at Water Week. I saw this thing happen or I heard about this from an expert. I want to do more. So thank you for making that possible.
Yeah. And that's one of the really cool things about the Shaping Tomorrow Awards was that we were able to impact a lot of different facets of the environment and in different areas. And I'm glad you mentioned Let's Go 123 because they're doing work with urban greening and getting youth involved, particularly in the city. Oftentimes programs are geared more for the rural parts of Lancaster County. And that's great and needed. But it's also very important that everybody is included. And I feel like that is an organization that really gets that. In addition to SACA, the Spanish American Civic Association.
There you go.
They're doing really great work in the southeast part of Lancaster. And, their goal is to make the southeast part of Lancaster the cleanest, greenest quadrant of the city. So they're doing all kinds of work with trash cleanup, but then also beautification. It's tied to public art projects and things of that nature. So I feel like they're really stepping up in a really profound way too.
They've added an option on their trail for a water trail through that area of Lancaster.
Awesome.
So I think it's through QR codes and you can do it as an individual. Like it's not a guided tour. But
what's a QR code, Allison?
I have no idea. What is a QR code, Dave?
I have no idea what it stands for.
Well, I'm curious. I gotta look it up. I might have known this at one point, but I don't.
We'll have to look that up.
I feel
it's on our
like
research
Ken and I
list.
look alike, and apparently his.
It's on our research list.
He's rubbing off on me here.
Sorry about that. Quick response code.
Oh, maybe I didn't know it. Nope. Doesn't sound familiar.
Nope. Well, you got me, Dave. Oh, man.
We're all guilty now, right? Maybe Ken. Did you get it? Are you clear?
No, I think.
In this episode, I am, but I have been before.
Yeah. All right. Yep. I'm going to find it.
There you go, listeners. Go find the episode on which I was buzzed. Do you have any recommendations for next steps for our partner organizations in engaging donors after the ExtraGive?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really all about stewardship. You hear that word a lot, and it's basically what it sounds like. It's stewarding or directing or caring for those donors after the event.
Yeah.
And really with ExtraGive, the organizations have the tools to be able to contact those folks post-event. As a donor, you always have the option of donating anonymously and, not letting anybody know, flying below the radar. But a lot of folks do want to let people know who they are. They want information about the organization, their mission, their programs, and what they're doing with the money they raise from ExtraGive. So we just say, call them, connect with them, celebrate and communicate with donors. That's the surest way to keep them on your donor list and understand what you're doing. A lot of organizations, they'll call donors as they see the donations come in that day. They'll call donors and thank them, which is nice. And because you're always getting those calls like, can you give more? But it's really nice to get a call that says, hey, thank you for donating. This really made an impact. Some of the success stories from ExtraGive there's just so many, really, and some overarching one of the largest overarching impacts is that organizations got to dip their toes into like online fundraising. So 10 years ago, there weren't as many organizations online fundraising, especially the smaller ones. They didn't know how to do it. So this gave them a tool to really learn how to do it and do it well over time, and then steward those donors, and then for many organizations, especially the smaller ones that are volunteer run, you think about the small historical societies, right? They're all over the place. And a lot of times they're volunteer led. And this provided them with a revenue stream and a tool to really do things a little better and maybe do a membership drive through ExtraGive. And there's also so many impacts regionally. There's camps for kids with diabetes to teach them stress management and how to manage their disease. As Dave mentioned, helping to create accessible hiking areas and bike paths, feeders into the Chesapeake Bay, helping to clean that up, creating new facilities even to rehab wildlife that are impacted in some ways. So there's so many ways that the ExtraGive can help organizations and create new revenue streams and paths to fulfill their missions.
I think Kim just really gave a really good tip, though, about making sure the donors are acknowledged, and phone calls are just so important.
Yeah.
I won't mention who, but I know somebody who gave to a bunch of organizations one year and then noticed the ones that called and the ones that didn't, and the ones who did not get donations the next year. And I don't think
attention.
I don't think this person is alone with that kind of thinking. So yeah, it's a very important thing.
That is great advice.
Tips and tricks.
Yeah. Well, we have come to my favorite part of the show.
Ooh.
It's trivia time.
Okay.
Let's go.
Alrighty. I based these trivia questions on your bios from your website.
Ah.
Okay.
Yes. So I learned a little bit about you, and these trivia questions are around a couple of those little things. For example, Dave, you're a guitar player.
I play guitar.
Yeah. What's your favorite guitar?
You mean like that I own, or just in general? Because there's a big difference.
How about both?
Oh man. My dream guitar is probably a Gibson ES335.
Okay.
It's a big guitar, and it just does all the things, and it just sounds majestic.
It's a hollow body, isn't it?
That's a hollow body.
Yeah.
And then, but also I love Martin guitars, acoustic guitars, and they're made in Pennsylvania.
They are
in Nazareth. Yeah. And if you ever get a chance to tour the facility, it's a really cool tour. And there's a D45. I mean, those things are like 10 grand, but I'll never have one. But and as far as what I own, I do own a lesser expensive Martin, and I have a Guild 12 string that I love.
Oh,
yeah. So I don't know.
That wasn't your trivia question. I was actually just kind of curious.
I could go on and on.
You could just geek out over guitars over there.
Oh, we will.
I know.
So you mentioned very expensive guitars. The most expensive guitar ever sold currently is a Martin 1959 D18 acoustic. It sold for $6 million.
Ooh.
Who previously owned that guitar that brought its value up like that?
Oh my. I'm going to... Eric Clapton comes to mind. I don't think that's the right answer though, but you have a guess?
I have a guess. I don't know.
Go ahead, guess.
Maybe Jimi Hendrix.
I don't think he played a Martin.
Oh, okay.
We'll see that.
There you go.
This one kind of surprised me. It was Kurt Cobain's guitar.
Oh yeah. I actually saw that guitar.
Yeah. Oh,
I
really?
didn't realize it was worth that much.
You didn't bid on it?
They have it at the Martin factory.
Oh, okay.
They have a little museum there, and I think it's called
sense,
Grandpa. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I think that's the name of the guitar.
To the trivia game.
And it's got holes in it. I mean, it's like, yeah.
Well, Kim, it's your turn.
Okay. Ready to go.
You have had a dog and a cat.
Yeah.
So, according to Forbes magazine, are there more pet dogs or more pet cats in the United States?
I would say I might think this is a softball one there. I think it might be cats because of the feral cat population.
So many.
Sorry, yeah, dogs are the most popular pet in the U.S.
Most popular or
the
most number?
number.
All right.
I'm just reading the answer as they put it.
See,
so
this is going to become a whole thing. I know her well enough that she's going to go back and research this and come up with some really nuanced.
By all means, please do.
All right.
65.1 million U.S. households own a dog, followed by cats at 46.5 million, and freshwater fish at 11.1 million.
You make clean water fit in all places.
Yes, I do.
You need clean water for the fish people.
Yeah.
It's part of the name of the podcast. I kind of have to.
Yeah, just slide in there.
Forget about the humans. You need it for the fish. Absolutely.
This one's going to be a softball one for you, Dave.
Okay.
What famous American jazz, country, and blues guitarist, who's also a songwriter, is the namesake inspiration for a line of guitars by Gibson?
Les Paul.
It is Les Paul. Yeah. You scared me for a second.
I was just like, could it be that easy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it
All
could.
right. All right.
This is what I put up with here. I'm just saying. Yeah.
Kim, also according to Forbes, what is the annual cost of keeping a dog? If you're somewhere in the ballpark, I'll give it to you.
Mm-hmm. $2,500 a year.
That's ballpark.
Okay, why not? It's $1,533 annually on average, yeah. All right, Dave, you are a fan of the Lancaster Stormers, formerly known as the Barnstormers. I still say that all the time, but how many Stormers have gone on to play for teams in Major League Baseball?
Now, I'll say that that's a nuanced question because you're saying the ones that go on to play because there have been former Major League players who then come back and play with the Stormers on the back end of their career. So that would be a whole different number. But I'm just going to take a wild guess and say 15.
Yes, that is correct.
All right, 15. I did great with that.
Now, Kim, you are a fan of the Fulton Theater.
I am.
The seating sections of the theater are the orchestra, the parquet, the mezzanine, and what?
That would be the gallery.
It is the gallery. Woohoo! And just a fun little side note, it is called the gallery because there literally used to be an indoor shooting range up there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
I can't imagine that.
Dave, back to the Stormers.
Okay.
What major change did the Stormers organization make to the stadium in 2024?
To the stadium. I actually didn't get to the stadium in 2024. I'm a little embarrassed to say that.
There's a big difference.
But,
Notice a difference on the field.
Yes.
On the field. Okay, so I think where you're going with this might be that it's an artificial surface now.
It is an artificial surface now. So, Kim, this is going to be a tough one. We'll try to help you through it. What was the first theatrical performance at the Fulton?
Oh, my goodness. I don't know this, but I remember there's lots of posters at the Fulton, from days gone by.
Yep.
And I certainly remember a lot of reviews came there, individuals singing and doing one, but I can't tell you. Sorry.
And that's not even one you can even guess at, to be honest with you. I mean, you can, but it was the grand opening on October 2nd, 1873. They put on a performance of Othello.
Okay.
Benefiting the widows and orphans of the Civil War.
Okay.
Yeah. Interesting stuff.
Othello.
So this last question is for both of you.
Okay. All right.
When is the Extra Give, and where can listeners get more information about it?
November 22nd.
And they can get more information at extragive.org.
You are absolutely correct.
All right.
We'll have that information on the episode notes. Dave and Kim, thank you so much for coming in, telling us about Extra Give, and wow, it's going to be a big day, and
Thank you for all that you do, ways you support Lancaster. You give us all opportunities and help tell the stories and help get support. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Clean Water Fund and Clean Water Partners and Lancaster County Conservation District and all of the entities.
We could be here for a while.
And just all the organizations in our community. There's so many that do such great work for the environment. And we're so happy for the work that you do.
Well, thank you. Well, that is our show. We will be back in just a couple of weeks. Until then, take care.
Bye.
Clean Water Conversations is brought to you by Lancaster Clean Water Partners. If you have comments or suggestions on the show topics, please contact us at info@lancastercleanwaterpartners.com. Thank you for listening.